All right, Madam Clerk, if I think we explained the process, so we're good to go. Madam Clerk, would you call out the first names?
Yes, beginning with speakers in opposition, Hue Mohammed, followed by Lane Hetherington, followed by Janet Asaro, followed by Nancy Logan. Hue Mohammed has time ceded by Tressa Mohammed, Charles Alexander, Eddie Mohammed, Sybil Mohammed, Michelle X, David Mohammed, Yvonne Nava, Lee Mohammed, Vernon X, Ahmed Mohammed, Charles Mohammed, Karen Linyown, Kathleen Lippett, and Andrea Marseca for a total of 15 minutes. Mr. Mohammed, please come forward.
Peace be unto you. In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, let me first thank the council president, our mayor, the council, and all those in attendance for the opportunity to speak with you before you today. First, let me say I agree 100% with the mayor and our council president in the direction in which we're looking at. I don't think we're here to debate whether or not marijuana can be of value to those that may be sick. And of course, I would be in support of that and anything to help to relieve the sick and the elderly. So that's not an issue for me here. What we're here to do is to look at how is it placed. I'll give you a brief background of myself. I'm a business owner in the 4th District. I'm looking at it from that vantage point. And depending on how marijuana is used, if you come into my office to apply for a job, the type of work we do, we'll have to drug test you. So we're very careful when we look at how marijuana affects our use. Now, there was a medical marijuana place on Federal and 47th, was robbed 4 times. On top of it, the people that we saw coming in had nothing to do with elderly. It had nothing to do with those who appeared to be sick, but I saw a lot of young people. As a matter of fact, one day as I was walking into my office, I saw one of my employees coming out of there. And you know what? He didn't have a medical marijuana card. So I think we're in the right discussion. How do we make, if it's an issue that's valuable to many of those that may be here, can it be made safe? Now, I personally don't think that you can operate good on the marijuana. I don't stand here as someone who have never smoked marijuana. I smoked marijuana as a youth. So I know that you can't operate at 100%. I didn't have any pain, so I'm not here to talk about that aspect of marijuana and being able to relieve pain. But I want to talk about the issues facing the community and some of the things we discussed. One, I think we talked about 600 feet. That's probably a block and a half or 2 blocks. I don't know if that's a close enough zone. I think we need to probably have what we would call something they do in Canada with alcohol. You have outlets. That's in specific. There's only a certain amount in communities that if you have that issue, you should be able to get there. I believe they may have some place they're actually delivering marijuana since they, from what I'm hearing, I don't have all of the facts on that, but there's actually some places that actually deliver it to someone if they need the marijuana, if it's there. But I think we need to look at how do we put it in the community. We talk about not being near to schools, but how about churches, daycare centers? We may talk about parks. How about mosques? We have NA and AA meeting space. Currently, as I was before the council last week, there was a proposed smoke shop to be placed in the plaza, and I'm sure they're under the expression or intention that shortly after the smoke shop will come a dispensary. So they were trying to get ahead of the game. You know, let's get the smoke shop in there because we're going to be having, that's the next thing we're going to open up. But in the plaza where we are, it's a very high residential area. We have 3 churches, 2 mosques, an NAAA 12-step drug and alcohol program. We have a Saturday school, as I mentioned before, and we also had a tutorial center for after-school tutoring. We have to look at those things. Going back again now to the effects that it has on the community if it's not regulated correctly. I know that, and I believe that there is a value to marijuana. But now let's look at the negative side of that. Let's look at crime. Let's look at the effects on the employment. Let's look at the effect that it has on society as a whole. I guarantee you, during Prohibition, when this country saw fit to not allow alcohol to be legal, and we saw some of the illegal activity that came up behind that, and then finally they gave into the pressure and made alcohol legal. If you were to ask all those moms, all those fathers, all those loved ones, and in the state of California, where more than 40% or so of deaths come from alcohol-related accidents, would they think that prohibition would have been a good idea for today? Yes, they would. So we're at that junction again in time. Looking at a value, I was told that, wine have a good effect on the digestive system. Eat a piece of steak or something like that, a glass of wine, it'll really break it down. It can digest it better. But to someone that don't have any type of moderation, what have alcohol created in the society? Back to marijuana. We're at that junction again in time. The ill effects of marijuana on our youth and on our communities, particularly that I can say in the 9th, the 8th, and the 4th district, in which a lot of my members and many of the pastors who are in this room and other community members that are in this room, the effect of marijuana and alcohol on our community is detrimental tremendously. We have found out, and I've been in schools, medical marijuana now, getting into the hands of children, selling it in our schools. So you have a very tough job to prepare to weigh what is public safety versus what can be good for those that may need marijuana. What is the balance that we achieve here? Is there really a balance? Is there other drugs that can be used to medicate, to help with pain? And I'm not saying that it is or it's not. And those I'm sure that's in favor of it, that's been affected, that have used it for treatment, that is good, I'm sure they'll be able to testify to the value of that. And I can't argue against that. Well, when I look at the effects of tens of thousands of people, then I have to look at the community member. Is the value equated? And then if it is, then we need to find 1 or 2 centers that people would be able to go to under those circumstances. But let's look at what we had in medical marijuana. I was given a list from those that are working against that over 200 medical marijuana places were just in San Diego County or so alone with this particular ordinance. Or do we need 200 medical marijuana facilities? In Pacific Beach right now, and they will speak to this, there's a proliferation of smoke shops, and these shops are now starting to sell weed again. Pacific Beach, I think, have less than 40,000 residents. How do we have 18 smoke shops and 9 or 10 medical marijuana shops that's selling that? Is this really about helping someone that's in pain, or is this a move to make marijuana legal and to make another drug legal to a society that's already riddled with the effects of drug and alcohol? Let's look at crime. What is the effect of crime with those drinking or smoking? I can't speak necessarily for La Jolla, and I believe La Jolla High School, from what I was told, is one of the highest with drug abuse. I don't have the stats. That's what I was told by someone. There are some effects there. Pardon me? Oh, you can speak up. I won't speak when you're speaking.
No, sir. Sir, address the council.
I'm not sure. So I'll refrain from that. Let's pull that off the table. La Jolla High School doesn't have any drug problems. I don't know how many smoke shops are in La Jolla. I don't know how many smoke dispensaries are in La Jolla close to any of their schools. I guarantee you there's not many. You know why? The people of La Jolla will raise up and they would say no. They wouldn't say necessarily no against marijuana, but they'll tell you have to put it in an area that's very remote, that our children and those that could be affected by the negativity of it would not be involved. That is the challenge that the council have today, to protect the citizens, to look at your communities that have elected you and put you in office, and to see what is the detriment of what you're about to vote on in affecting that community. So I ask the council, as you prepare, we need some more people, Mr. Mayor, on the committee that's going to see how these ordinances are going to be made. Since these could potentially be put in different communities, we should have different community leaders, if we don't have that already, involved in setting ordinance that's something that's going to affect the entire city. I think each and every city council member should have some hearings in their own district to ask the people what do they think of the effect, positive or negative. Because as you have an individual vote before this council, you have a collective responsibility to those who have elected you. That includes the mayor. That includes everybody here. And I supported this mayor. But I think, as my good friend Bishop McKinney stated, this is one of those topics that we will be in disagreement on. But that's the beautiful thing about democracy. We're able to disagree. So, City Council, it's before you to sit, to listen, and to weigh. It's not about those that may need help because we want to help them, but is the value more, less, or greater to society as a whole for its health and for its well-being? And I think we need to stop and study that a little bit more. And I think we should cease and desist currently any medical marijuana dispensaries or limit them at this point until we could come up with this issue. Now, that's going to be a sticky one, I'm sure. If nothing else, let's stop any more from opening until you could come up with a firm decision what's in the best interest of both sides. I thank you very much. And I wondered one question. I don't know if you can answer the question. It said not in a residential area. And I don't know from the city attorney or from anyone, how do we determine what is a from I think the presentation that was made, it should be in a non-residential area. Now, what do we consider a non-residential area? And I know we made the point that it cannot be in a facility where anyone may be, a resident may be living. But any smoke shop I've ever seen, or at any dispensary I've ever seen, particularly the one that was right next to my business where I moved my office because of the activity, right behind it, not a block away, immediately behind it was a house and residents and children. So with that being said, is there anyone that can answer that for us? I don't know if that's what we do here, or I can ask that question. What is considered a non-residential place in where we're going to put a dispensary?
I will ask staff to put that slide back up on the screen. You saw the maps during the presentation, and those are the areas that
they had your picture up on the back, that what I would be able to see.
That's okay. We're going to put it up on the big one here. You can stand close.
They have one? Okay.
Yes.
Very
Is that all today?
Well, if I'd like to see the map before we're done. No more than a minute. I understand the picture you're showing me. Is there a definition of a non-residential area where we're going to put a smoke shop? What is the definition of
Ladies and gentlemen, allow the staff to please respond.
It would not be allowed in any residential zone with the city or on any property that contains a residential use. So there are some commercial neighborhoods, in the older neighborhoods especially, commercial areas rather, that you can have someone living upstairs. Well, they would not be permitted downstairs.
Okay. But it's not in someone that's adjacent to it would not be considered a non-resident. It's not the zoning we're talking about here now. Okay. See, because sometimes everyone don't have the opportunity to go and look at what you're saying. When you say non-residential area, I'm thinking you're going to put it in an industrial park someplace. We're not going to have a home on this side of it, a home on that side of it. As it stands, that's not what that means. In other words, I could be zoned commercial, and I could have business in this plaza. I could put a medical marijuana facility here, and there could be a house 15 feet away.
It's the underlining zoning, Minister Mohammed. And actually, this is not a time for the council to dialogue. We're here to listen to
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.